today to His children. I'm telling you, this is a day of absolute freedom for us today. So here's a verse that the Lord just spoke to me as we were singing that song. And He was saying, as we were singing that song, He reminded me of Lazarus. And when Jesus took Lazarus, and he was already wrapped in the grave clothes, and He came, and He was 4 days late, and Martha and Mary were so upset, and He shows up, and Jesus is going to show up to prove a point, because He wants us to realize who He is. And so when He gets there, and this is what it says in John 11, it says, Jesus, once more deeply moved, came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone laid across the entrance. Take away the stone, He said. But Lord, said Martha, the sister of the dead man, by this time there is a bad odor, for he has been there 4 days. Then Jesus said, this is what I want you to get today in this message. Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God? Okay, now that might just sound like, okay, that's another passage. He is saying to us, when you believe, then you will begin to see the glory of God. That's how faith works. The just shall live by faith. And so if we go around and we're like, well, I won't believe it until I see it, that's not faith. Faith says, I believe what Christ is doing. I believe what Christ has done. I believe what He's doing in my life. And therefore, because of that faith, I will begin to see the glory of God. And the more you believe in who He is, the more the unveiling of who He becomes in your life. And that's what I want to share with you today, because I'm telling you, this is powerful stuff. So this past week, I have had a dream, and this was the first, believe it or not, I don't care. Let me just back up. Believe it or not, this is the first spiritual dream that I can remember that I've ever had. And I woke up that morning and I shared with Christy this dream because it was powerful. It was an incredibly amazing dream. And the dream, I want to share with you the dream because I have a point to this when I get done with it. This dream had me. Of course, in your own dream, you're the star of the show, right? So it was me, and I was in this room, and there was hundreds of people behind me, and there were 3 religious leaders that were there. There was an imam, there was me as the pastor, the Christian leader, and then there was this imam, however you say that, the Muslim leader, and then there was this other leader that I wasn't sure, but I remember there was these candles up on pillars, okay, and they were burning. And we had to raise up our hands and begin to sprinkle over these candles that were lifted up on this pillar. And as I was praying, as I was doing that, I began to say, give me strength, show them your power. Give me strength, show them your power. And as that became more and more prevalent in my life, in that dream, then I began to understand what God is talking about when He's saying, the more you believe, the more I am unveiling myself to you. Because what happened was, all of a sudden, my flame began getting brighter and bigger and brighter and bigger and brighter and bigger. And as it did, it illuminated the back wall. And what I saw was all of the lies and all of the deception that the enemy is using to destroy God's people, or trying to destroy God's people, and is destroying this world. And I woke up and I thought, oh my gosh, that is I told Christy immediately, I said, I've never had a dream like that before in my life. Usually if I'm dreaming, I'm in my car, or usually a lot of times when I dream about my dad, and I dream that we're hanging out somewhere, and that's just such a beautiful thing for me to be able to dream and hang out with my dad in different scenarios. But this was the first time that God began unveiling Himself in a dream. And some of you might be here today going, that sounds really weird. Let me tell you something. The more you believe, the more glory you will see. Okay? And so what's welling up inside of me is this desire and this hunger to know God a little bit more. And the only way I can do that is to believe who He is a little bit more. And it's the same with you. Every time you believe who God is a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, you begin to see the unveiling of His glory. It's kind of like the bride. I did this study, actually it was this morning, on the unveiling, when the bride comes down, and I don't know if you really do it that much anymore, but, the bride comes down and there's the veil over her face, and the groom's down here waiting, and then he's the one that gets to unveil the bride to see his beautiful bride. Those are such romantic moments, right? But her face is covered up, he can't see her, and then all of a sudden he lifts the veil and there's her beautiful face, and he's fallen in love, and he just knows that she's the one. I hope by that time he does know that she's the one. And then you get to see he gets to see her in all of her beauty, So I was like, you know what, God, there's some passages in Scripture that talk about the unveiling of Christ. And so I did a little bit of studying on the unveiling, and this is what I found out. The unveiling, there's three places or three things I found about the history of the unveiling. First of all, it was to wrap the brides from head to toe, representing the delivery of a modest and untouched maiden. Okay, so that's one of the ways that the thing about the veil came about, how the veil came about, and as well as in a spiritual sense, it hid her away from the evil spirits who might want to thwart her happiness. Okay, a couple of things there, and then Christy kind of showed me this one this morning. We were talking over coffee, and we were talking about this message this morning. And there's an ancient tradition of arranged marriages between the matriarchs of the families. Okay, so they would get together and they would make deals, and they would arrange these prearranged marriages, and they'll say, okay, if you give me 25 head of cattle, then I'll give your daughter my daughter to your son. And they would make these backroom deals with their kids. Okay, and we're talking about teenagers at this point. So here they are making these arranged weddings, and literally they would walk down the aisle, and the reason they would have the veil on is because they were not going to see who they were about to be married to until that moment. Wow. Now that right there, I'm glad they're done with that tradition. I'll never forget our wedding. I will never forget sorry, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but when I came down, or when I was standing there and Christy came down, and she lifted up my veil. And she saw me for the first time. She almost ran, Zach, but she stayed. It's a ministry. She knew it was a ministry. Because that's the face that she saw. And she said, good Lord, have mercy. What am I doing here? Where have I gone? No, she didn't actually have a veil. She had oh man, she was so beautiful. But anyway, still is, by the way. I just have this picture that's on my dresser that is her just looking, the veil is draped over like this, and she's just looking sideways, and that's just the most favorite picture of Christy. But anyway, I want us to talk about something about the unveiling of Christ for just a minute, okay? It's found this in 2 Corinthians chapter 3, and I want us to go there, and I want us to understand that what it means to live under the unveiling of who Christ is in our life. What does this look like to us? Okay, so let's back up to the day Jesus Christ died on the cross for us. Okay, so the day that Jesus Christ died, the day of the ultimate sacrifice of what Jesus did for our life, this is what happened. Then behold, the veil of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom, and the earth quaked and the rocks were split. Okay? So it was at this moment that the old covenant was dying and the new covenant was coming to pass. And I think to me, that is a glorious, glorious thing to be able to have witnessed, where the old covenant was coming to an end and the new covenant was coming into its beginning. And so when that veil was torn, we had access to His presence and His glory and His power right then. Okay? So that was the day. Yeah, you can clap for that one. Because that was the day when that veil was torn, the unveiling of the power of Christ. That is the day that you and I had access to Him at that point. You and I now had the access to the power and the glory and the weight of the glory of God. In other words, before, only the priest could go behind there. Only the priest could get behind that veil. Only those that had been cleansed and gone through the motions and all of that. And us little peons wouldn't have stood a chance to get behind there, because if you weren't clean, you know what happened. If you went behind that veil, you would immediately die, because that was the presence of the Lord there. As a matter of fact, I know maybe some of you guys know this, but the history of that is they would literally tie ropes around the ankles of the priests. Because if something happened and they weren't clean, then they would die, and they would have to drag them out, their dead bodies out, because that is how much the glory of God, of how powerful the glory of God is. But let me tell you something. As soon as that veil was torn, we had access to all of that. We had access to all of it. And I want to just share with you 2 Corinthians chapter 3, and I'm going to go through verse 11 through 18. And this message is kind of a spin-off on last week's message, because I was talking about where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, and we talked about how sometimes that's in a, we kind of make that in an assembly. You know, it's not just when we gather at church, we say, well, if the Spirit's here, then there's freedom. But honestly, that is also a personal thing for you as you walk where the Spirit of the Lord is that lives inside of you. There is freedom for you to walk in that freedom, because the Spirit of the Lord is there. And so we talked about that a little bit last week. And so I want to talk to you today about 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 11. And this is what it says. So if the old way, which has been replaced, okay, the old covenant, was glorious, if the old ways, the stone tablets, the commandments, Deuteronomy, Leviticus, all of those, if they've been replaced, which was a glorious thing in itself, the law of the Lord was glorious, okay? Because what it did is it represented God looking down at His people and saying, you are my chosen people, and this is how I want you to live and move and breathe and act. And so it was a glorious thing, and it's right with His chosen people. He says, so how much more glorious is the new, which remains forever? So we're looking at what is glorious, and then all of a sudden He's saying, yeah, but there's something new on the horizon. And because it's something new, it is going to be even more glorious than the law, because it's the glory that sets you and I free from sin and death. Now that's glory. That's the glory that says, you now belong to me. You now are my son. You now are my daughter. And He's saying, this is the glorious, which is the new, and that remains forever. Jesus Christ came and He fulfilled the law. The glorious law He fulfilled when He sacrificed Himself on the cross, and He rose again on the third day. And then it says, since this new way gives us such confidence, we can be very bold. So we have this boldness that is in us because of the new covenant that we have with Jesus Christ, because of Jesus Christ. We should, every one of us as followers of Christ, have a sense of boldness in us that says wherever I go, whatever I do, I can shift the atmosphere of where I'm going. Every time I walk into a room, because of the boldness of who I am and who Christ is in me, I can shift the atmosphere. I can move this place from darkness to light just by walking in to that situation. And I was thinking about something this morning in my prayer time. I was thinking to myself, you know what? When Moses had to take his shoes off and he says, you're on holy ground. You know, Jesus says, or God says, take your shoes off for your own holy ground. If the same Spirit that rose Christ from the dead, the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of Jesus is inside of you, everywhere you walk is holy ground. Now, that's something I've never thought about before. If Christ really is inside of me, which the Bible says He is, everywhere I walk, every room that I go into, every place that at work, wherever I'm at, I am walking into a situation and I am on holy ground because that holiness lives inside of me. So when you walk into that room, you have the power to change the atmosphere in that room. Now, some of you might say, no, I don't. I'm not that powerful. No, you're not, but He is, and He lives inside of you. So you don't have to walk around and say, well, you know, that seems all nice and all, but shucks, you know, that's not me. I don't know if I could do that. Listen, we have got to get past the place where we are the victims, and we have to come to a sense of realization that we live in victory. God is a God of victory, and that God lives inside of us. So we don't have to walk around in this world that's dark and say to ourselves, well, you know, I'm going to be meek, I'm going to be timid. I'm not saying God doesn't ask us to be meek. My dad was a very meek man, and what he always would explain to me as meek would be strength under control. And my dad was a very strong man. I'll never forget the time that our youth pastor, we were playing basketball, and my youth pastor got a hold of me and pushed me and shoved me. And my dad, I mean, the meekness just left. And I was watching my dad just in his face, and I thought, you done messed with the wrong person now, son. Get him, daddy. But it was that strength under control. And so we have that power inside of us. And the more you believe that you have the power, the more of the unveiling of that power is available to you. And if you walk around and you say to yourself, guess what? I don't have any power. I'm just trying to make it through the day. I just want to do the best that I can today, and I hope that God, you know, gives me a good day today. God, give me a good day today. Every day that you have with God is a good day, which happens to be every day. Every day is a good day because you're walking with God in that day. And so instead of us saying to ourselves and speaking the weakness over us, stop speaking the weakness over yourself and start speaking the strength that is already inside of you. Stop believing the lie. The lie is that you're weak and you're not worth anything, or you're never going to be able to change something or a shift in atmosphere in a room. And so you walk in there not believing that that's what you can do and that's what you're capable of. But when you begin to walk in those rooms, you begin to walk in work, you begin to walk in your marriages, you begin to walk wherever you go going, I have the power of Christ in me. I believe that I can change this situation, or He can change this situation through me. Guess what happens? He begins to grow, and that glory becomes unveiled in your heart and in your life, and you begin to believe more and more and more. And the only reason that I could speak as passionately as I can about this is because I am living it right now. I am watching God grow and grow and grow in my spirit. I am hungering for Him like I've never hungered for Him before. And I've been a pastor for almost 20 years, and I have never hungered for God like the way I'm hungering for Him right now, and it's because I'm free to. And you have the freedom to be hungry for God. I don't have, you know what? The freedom that I have now used to be fear. It used to be fear of what I might look like in front of somebody. It used to be fear that if I had all of my ducks in a row and the PowerPoint was good, then I could escape out of here going, phew, maybe they didn't realize who I really am. I don't have that anymore because I'm vulnerable. I'm like, you can't kill a dead man. And I'm not saying I've arrived there. Please don't hear me when I say that. I'm still marching on. I'm still moving forward. I still got things that I'm working on, just like every one of us do. But I'm telling you something. There is a hunger that's welling up inside of me that says, I want to see more of Jesus in me. I want to see more of His power. I want to see more of His glory. And the more I can believe in what He says, just like He said to Martha, He said, if you believe, you will see. It's not if you see, then you believe. It is if you believe, when you believe, you will see. And that puts a whole different spin and perspective on who He is in our life and what He's capable of doing in our lives. So we have to stop speaking weakness. We have to stop acting like the veil has not been uncovered. The veil has been lifted. We're going to keep going here. Oh, do y'all want to see that again? No? Okay. And then here's verse 14. But the people's minds were hardened. Now, oh, man, this is huge. You might be in here today with your hands crossed, your arms crossed over your heart going, I don't believe this. Listen to what he says. The people's minds were hardened, and to this day, whenever the old covenant is being read, the same veil covers their mind. You know what that veil is, that old covenant? That is that religious, that is that law, that there's no freedom in that whatsoever. As glorious as it was, it has no comparison on the new covenant, because the new covenant fulfills that law. But if you and I walk around thinking we've got to do everything just right, thinking we can't do that and we can't do that and we need, I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but as the Spirit of God wells up inside of you, as He gets stronger and stronger inside of you, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to want to do those things anymore. And so instead of us walking in the flesh going, oh, I can't do that, I can't do that, oh, I shouldn't do that, I can't believe I did that, God, it's going to take a week for me to recover and get back to you. Instead of that, we say, hey, I messed up, I sinned, I confess it, I'm moving on. See, you know what a saint is? A saint and a sinner both fall. The saint gets back up and keeps moving forward. Okay? And that's what we are. The Bible declares us saints, and we can keep moving forward under the power. And he says, they cannot understand the truth. Same veil that covers their mind, so they cannot understand the truth. And this veil can be removed. Listen to this. How powerful is this, y'all? This veil can be removed. How? By believing in Christ. The more Christ is unveiled in your life, the more the old covenant is stripped away from you. And that is a freedom that I have never experienced before. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And I know that you love it too. Yes, even today, when they read Moses' writings, their hearts are covered with that veil, and they do not understand. But whenever someone turns to the Lord, the veil is taken away. He's saying it over and over and over again. He's saying, take the veil off. The veil has already been lifted. And then that's when it goes into, for the Lord is the Spirit, and wherever the Spirit of the Lord is, what? There's freedom. We have freedom. When we believe in what Christ did on the cross, we actually have freedom. And it says, so all of us who have had that veil removed can see and reflect the glory of the Lord. And the Lord, who is the Spirit, makes us more and more and more and more and more and more like Him as we are changed into His glorious image. So it starts by lifting the veil, having enough faith and saying, I want to see more of you. I want to see all of you. I want to see what this veil looks like. I want to see what you look like behind this veil. You see, the reveal happens. The day you switch from the old glorious way to the new, more glorious way in Christ. That's the great reveal. It's like the husband or the guy, husband, whatever, about to be husband, lifts that veil and he sees his beautiful bride. That's what it is. It's the reveal. It happens the day you switch, the day you say yes to Jesus Christ, and the day you say, I believe, I want more. I want you in my heart. I want you in my life. I am a sinner and I need you. Everyone has sinned in their life and I am no different. And so I need you, Jesus, to come be the sacrifice for my sins. And he says, when you do that, you switch from the old glorious way to the new, more glorious way, which is in Christ. But here's the thing, the glory comes in stages. Okay? Wouldn't it be great if when you got married, that you knew everything there was to know about that person the day the veil was lifted? Okay? So we have access to the glory of God, but it's just like a marriage. The more we hang out with that person, the more we walk in truth with that person and in love and in relationship with that person, we get to know them a little bit more and a little bit more. And that's what happens in our walk with Christ. It comes in stages. The glory comes in stages. We don't lift the veil and go, oh gosh, now I know everything there is to know about Jesus. Okay, cool, I'm a Christian. No, that's not. Listen, this is so good right here. A Christian is not somebody who says a prayer and walks away thinking they're saved. A follower of Christ invites Him into their life on their knees in repentance, and then they follow Him as best as they can in that moment. It has nothing to do with just saying a simple prayer. Now, it does say that all who call out to the name of Jesus will be saved. But if you call out to the name of Jesus, and that's as far as it gets for you, you might want to reevaluate the prayer that you prayed, and you might want to reevaluate your heart that prayed it. Because if I pray to God and I say, Lord, save me, and I'm done and I walk away, and then I think that I'm saved, but I'm not living out the Holy Spirit life inside of me, I'm going to tell you something. There's a lot of people in church that are going to go to hell. And I don't mean to be like scary, but if it's not impacting your life, if Jesus Christ is not impacting the way you think, the way you should think, the way you should live, I'm not saying you're going to get it perfect. Nobody gets it perfect. But if it's not somehow getting into your soul, into your spirit, and things aren't changing in your life, let me tell you something. Reevaluate. It's the most important decision that you're ever going to make in your life. Now, I know the world is going to scream at you and say, oh, it's stupid. Jesus is not real, blah, 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 blah. Okay, you can believe that if you want. If you want to read Romans 1, please do so at the end of the church service or when you get home. Because what it says is that God gives people over to their depraved minds. Like, in other words, they're not going to believe, they're not going to believe, they're not going to believe. And God just says, okay, you do it your way. So we have to be very, 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 very careful that on the wedding day, that revelation of that bride is that moment in time when you say yes to Jesus. And then what follows that is an incredible love story of you and Jesus walking day to day. Not necessarily because what happens when you follow Christ in the beginning, you and I are completely different people than we were the day we said yes to Jesus coming into our life. You see, because the unveiling happens over and over and over. That's why it talks about from glory to glory to glory. The unveiling happens over and over again. And the more of the unveiling of the face of Christ, the more you believe. And the more you believe, the more of the unveiling of Christ happens in your life. And the more you see of Christ, the more you believe. I mean, that cycle is just like that. And that's such a beautiful cycle because that's how it works. That's how you and I get to know Jesus Christ. That's how you and I are able to share in the freedom that we have. When we're first saved, when you and I have just first come to know Jesus, and I remember my mom sitting here today. Could you just give my mom a hand? Mom, stand up, stand up. No, I'm just kidding, I'm kidding. She's freezing, by the way. She's all huddled up. But anyway, I have no idea where I was going with that. So, here's what happens. When you first got saved. Oh yeah, when I first got saved. Thank you, Gino. My mom, this is what happened. My mom said that I was 14 years old, and I remember it now, but because she told me about it. I do remember it. And she said that I looked at her, and I said, I'm going into my room, and, oh, thank you, Zach.
Oh, my wife sent it.
Oh, your wife sent it. Okay. Okay. So chivalry is dead. Thank you, Juanita. Thank you, Juanita. I said to my mom, I said, I'm going into my room, and when I come out, I'm going to know Jesus. And that was when I truly, now yes, I was 5 when I got baptized and all those kinds of things, but I knew there was something else. I knew there was something else. And that's when I looked at her and I said, when I come out, I'm going to be saved because there's something real that's going on in my life. And I wanted it. And that's what happens. That was the day that I said yes to Jesus Christ. Now, at that moment, did I know everything there was to know about Jesus Christ and my relationship with Him? Absolutely not. I'm 14 years old. I don't know what just happened. I know something happened. I just don't know what it was. But what happened is a period and seasons of unveiling of who Christ is. But this is where the sermon really has to point directly at you and your heart today, okay? This is where it has to point to you. Because here's what happens. Sometimes when that veil is uncovered, we want to cover our faces. You know? And I'll tell you why we want to cover our faces. We put the veil back on with religion. That's what 2 Corinthians 3 is talking about. We start believing the old covenant. We start going, well, I don't have the power to do this. I can't do the things that I should do. And so I'm speaking weakness over my walk with Christ. I wish I had the power. I wish I had the power. I just can't. Lord, just help me make it through the day, blah, blah, blah. Instead of waking up and saying, I am born again and I am free in Jesus Christ. And I'm getting to walk with Him every step, every breath, every heartbeat. It belongs to Him. We put the veil back on with religion. We put it back on with shame. I mean, when I saw this picture, I thought, oh my gosh, the black hands. You know, it's like the day that Jesus unveils Himself, the day we say yes, and that veil is lifted, and we see who He is because of His glory. Because of the weight of His glory and the brightness of His glory, we don't feel worthy to be looking upon the face of Jesus. And so we cover our faces back up in shame. Just like Adam and Eve did when they learned and they hid from God, the Father, from Abba. They were ashamed. And we let shame put the veil back on. Sometimes we let the fear of change put the veil back on. In other words, I don't know if I want to go deeper with Christ. I've kind of got it made right now. I'm pretty comfortable with my walk with God. A little bit of what God's doing in my life, but oh my gosh, I don't want to see everything, because if I see everything, He's going to make me do something and I don't want to do it because I'm comfortable. So we cover it back up. And we're like, no. God wants you to look into His face and see His eyes and say, I love you. I am conforming you into the image of my Son, Jesus Christ, because I love you. And to me, that's been really tough. But I am so glad to be on the other side. And I'm not saying again that I have arrived. Please hear me. But I am so glad to be on the other side of just being comfortable with where I was in my walk with God. You want to know why I'm glad I'm on the other side? Because this is so much better. This is so much better. And what happens is God begins to reveal things about your gift. Do you know that God has put a gift in your life? And do you know that He has gifts for you to use for His glory? But He's not going to give you that gift until you're ready for it. It'd be like me giving Jake the keys to the Camaro when he was 12 years old. It's like, here you go, buddy. Here's the Camaro. Have fun with it. He wasn't ready for it at that point. He wasn't ready for the gift of his vehicle until I dropped the key, until he turned 16 and he learned how to drive for a year. And so God has to get us to a place where we're ready to receive the gift. And so that takes me all the way back to when He said to Martha, didn't I tell you that if you would believe, you would see the glory of God? See, if you believe, you get ready, you prepare for the gift. You prepare for the glory. You open your heart up and you say, God, I cannot wait to receive the gift that you're about to give me. I'm anticipating the gift that you are going to give me. I can feel it. I can sense it. It's welling up inside of me. I am free, and I want to use whatever it is that you've given me and that you're going to give me for your glory. But I have to be ready for it, and only the Father knows when you're ready for the gift. Because when you're ready for the gift, you receive the gift and you appreciate the gift. Because if you're not ready for the gift, or if you're spoiled and you get something from God again, you're like, oh yeah, thanks, another trinket, throw it over there in the corner with all my other trinkets. God says, I've got something so big and so good and so wonderful for your destiny. I'm going to hold it safely in my hands until you're ready for it. And as soon as you're ready for it, I'm going to give it to you. And then you're going to give me the glory for that gift. But we have to be ready. We have to be ready. So how do we get ready? What? We get ready by asking God to get us ready. And expect it will require some things from us. Expect the refiner's fire. We don't want the refiner's fire, y'all. We don't. It stinks. It's no fun. It's no picnic. It's no fun when you're diagnosed with a disease. Or it's no fun when a child walks away from the faith and you scratch your head and go, what happened? We did everything we could. And it's not fun when you see a marriage bust apart and the kids scattered. And it's not fun when we find ourselves in sin and we don't know how to get out of it, and there's an addiction and there's no way out of it. It's not fun. The refiner's fire is not fun. You know, you can grow a church by preaching prosperity. You know, because Jesus fed the 5,000 plus, and everybody loved the miracles. But as soon as Jesus says, take up your cross and follow me, I had about 12 left. Because they knew the refiner's fire. He knew the refiner's fire was going to require something of you. But it's worth it. It is so worth it. Because you know why? Because on the other end of that refiner's fire, you know Him more, you trust Him more, you have seen more of His glory. Jimmy says this all the time, and I love it. I see God more in my rearview mirror than I do my windshield. And I just love that quote. Because the thing is He's right. We look in the windshield and it's all coming at us and it's all coming at us and we're reacting and all those things and we're thinking, God, are you there? Are you there? And then you look back up in the rearview mirror and you see God was with you the whole time. But so you take this gift and you say, Father, I don't know what it is, but I'm hungry for it. I want to believe so that I can see the glory. The unveiling happens over and over and over in your life. But you just have to be prepared to receive it and enjoy it. And the only way you can enjoy it is when you give the gift back to Him. When He gives you the gift and He says, son, you are ready for this gift now. And you take that gift and you say, now I want to use this gift that you've given me for your glory. That's when you know you're ready for the gift. That's when He knows you're ready for the gift. When you want to take that gift and turn it back around and share the glory of God. And so as the unveiling happens in your life, be prepared for what God wants to do in your life. That's going to be ups and downs, and you know this. You already know this. I'm preaching to the choir, as they say. But get ready for the ups and the downs. You know, God wants to do something in our church. We better be unified. You know why we need to be unified? Because there's going to be some ups and downs, and we're going to have to stick together. And we're going to have to move and unveil as God plans these things in our church and we start to begin to see things happen. We have to be unified, church, or we will bust apart. Let's not do that. Let's crave and hunger after the things of God, but let us do it in unity together. Because that's what God asks us to do, is to do it in unity. We give our gifts back to the glory of God in the church to build each other up, to encourage one another in the faith. And so we have to be able to do that in unity. And if we don't, like I said, we're going to fragment, and we're going to fragment really fast. So as we pray, and our prayer team every morning, every Sunday morning, prays the doors off of this place. They're praying for God to show His glory and reveal His presence and His glory more and more and more and more in this place. Well, that is going to be done through a myriad of things that are going to happen at Christian Center Church. And we have to be ready for them. And then we'll see on the other side, we will say, oh my goodness, this is so much better. I don't feel like I have to pretend. I don't feel like I have to put on my church face and show up. I can show up and be me and be real and be authentic and be challenged and encouraged in whatever it is that I'm struggling with. We want to see in this place marriages put back together. We want to see addictions broken. We want to see things that seem so far out of our reach naturally, supernaturally happen. We want to see miracles happen in your lives. That's what the prayer team's praying for. That's what I'm praying for. And so there will be an unveiling that's going to happen. But let us be unified in that unveiling. Let's pray. Father, thank you for this word. Thank you for the reality of the unveiling of who you are. It brings us to our knees in humility and thankfulness that you would even care enough about us to bring us to this place where you have revealed the goodness of who you are to us. But give us the strength and the boldness to say, I want more. Give me the strength and the boldness to not be satisfied with where I'm at, to continue to dive deeper and deeper and deeper into you, into your goodness and your love and your spirit. Lord, as you speak to my heart, there are changes that are coming in our own lives and the life of this church. And they're going to be awesome. changes. There are going to be some things that we weren't prepared for. But that's okay. You bring whatever you want to bring to this church. And Father, may we be ready to receive it. In your name we pray. Amen. God bless you. Did you receive God's word today? Thank you so much for being here today, and we'll talk to you, I guess, Wednesday if you're in a group. If